So it's just interesting. But on that note, I will shift into the September reading. And I took a picture of your cards, so I'll send that to you as well from this beautiful deck. If you have to pop out, no worries. Um, but otherwise, I'll just record this and then we'll be done. I'm only going to use deck of character. Many of the other decks are trying to come through, and as usual, I will do the concern opportunity. Ooh, hey, that was a good one that popped out over there. Give me a second to. Oh, okay, okay. Do we have a character? Spirit, you stop it. All right, so let's see. I call because it has deck because this deck, the deck of character has tools, characters, and places. I not everyone, including myself, when I pull cards, gets one of all three. But when I get a tool, character, and a place, rather than more than one of the same, I call it the crown. So it's like the thing that we need to focus on that sits on the head. The crown weighs heavy on the head. Our concern is a place, our opportunity or our obstacle is a tool, and our advantage or our aversion is a character, which is perfect because that's exactly how it works. Our concern is what's happening um, in general, in the general atmosphere. Our opportunity obstacle is what outside of our behavior do we consider to be in our way or helping us. And the advantage aversion is what about our character is helps sabotaging us or actually assisting us in our behavior. So our place is heaven. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. Okay, so this is what people are fighting over, right? Their peace, the truth, safety, freedom, all these things. And ultimately, I think what's interesting about September and Virgo season being a heaven card is this is like elevated earth. Because when, I mean, even in this card, but in heaven, like this is still earth. I mean, the sun, not, but the clouds, yes. And it's still, but it's a big picture, higher perspective, and lay of the land, earth energy, which I'm liking and also appreciating because we're going into, we're already in highly spiritual times, and the evidence of that is going to become more and more real and tangible. We know that often, and most people who are watching this video, because you're probably a practitioner, you've been doing these things for a long time. But the reason people are fighting is because a lot of them don't know that. They don't know that heaven is available to them, and they don't know that they are that. And so leading by example is probably going to be a huge element of Virgo season. And rewards coming very quickly as a result of integrity. As above, so below, creating like a harmonic frequency that creates a radius of influence, and that radius of influence being largely positive for those who can use even their undesired circumstances as a permission slip to be more of themselves and as a reason to be more authentic in their circumstances, to respond to a lack of reflection through a willingness to be boldly clear. And what I've been getting from my guides recently, which I really have to share because it's been invaluable to me, is believing in the betterment of ourselves, the capability and the willingness, here we go, the willingness to better ourselves rather than be right about what we don't prefer. That it doesn't have to be the shitty thing that it seems like it is, that it can be better and you can become better as a result of that, regardless of what it looks like right now. and to be resolved to the betterment of yourself over the resignation of what you don't prefer about yourself, which is also heaven, just like just elevating all the time, using everything, even the, not even, especially the atrocities to behave differently and to consider the circumstances, which takes us to the tool. Our tool is bear, bear energy. Obviously we have, I think of bears as den moms, like respect this house here. In bear energy, this claw energy, which is, how do we get to heaven on earth? Well, you would have to respect earth. You would have to not be willing to shoot and bomb the shit out of it. You would have to be willing to not treat it like a garbage can. And so much of that we're learning through our generation is not only going to learn through, but also be in charge of the large sort of like climate migration that we're going to be required to participate in. Gone are the times of I lived there for 40 years and I worked that job for 60 years. Like we don't have that luxury. Um, and we're also in a situation where really I mean, bears are not instigating ass animals. Like, if you go and get the bear claw, you came too close to the house, you came too close to the babies, or it was genuinely hungry as a motherfucker and you were what was there. So there's no petty bears. They don't, that's not the energy of their medicine. And their medicine is very much about like strike with reason and with neutrality. That things, especially as this is the tool, so the thing we can use in an opportunity or obstacle, uh, strike with neutrality, meaning like if you must cut something out, someone out, somewhere out, to do it without relish, and to also do it without preciousness, and then to leave it at that and to not take it with you and make up the story about, oh, it's so terrible, or I'm so terrible, or couldn't it have been this thing? Like what I was reading at the beginning about every movement creates a point along a line, and you can never return to the same point on the same line twice. So let the experience that we don't prefer be a lesson to us, and let us remember it as it was, as a lesson to us, so that we don't feel it is a environment, a lifestyle, a self-fulfilling prophecy, a future. Let it be a memory. We should allow our past to be past. And then the other thing about bear claw that I kind of appreciate, or like bear claw medicine, is like the hands-onness, um, the taking your life up, and the being willing to sort of hold your own intention, even when others are not willing to go as hard for what they want, go as hard in supporting you as you can support them. Um, there's a going aheadness with claw and with bear, especially after heaven. And it's like going to the worlds that you prefer, that sustain you, and trusting that, if that's not where you meet the people who you were with, that their definition of heaven and therefore their dimension of earth that was relevant for them is just not the one that you're in. And that is their lot and their interest, and not punishment on either side, because they've made room for the people of the dimensions that you're in to fill your life. Um, which brings us to character. And our character is the angsty teen. Oh God, puberty moments. And this is in our character zone. So, as lofty as I thought Virgo season, I was like, oh damn, we are not anal retentive. We are not. And then I was like, and then we're accountable, but we have this emotional internal maturity process that we actually have to go through. And also that means feeling your feels. You do need to feel your feels. So our advantage aversion, what about our character is helping or hindering us? One, I always tell y'all, emotional intelligence is a four-step process at the least. Step one, you feel away. Step two, you recognize you feel away. Step three, you recognize you're feeling away. You look back at your personal history and remember those moments where you might have also felt that way or are similarly reminded or similarly reacting. And then step four is based on that memory lane travel that you stop the world to do, now you decide how you're going to act. So teens typically, whatever, we socialize them. It's not even on them. It's on adults. And teens socialize each other, right? So the point being, like, I think teenage energy is actually very honest about emotions. It's just not necessarily very comprehensive and intelligent about what the emotions are for. Teens will just feel the way that they feel. And then when you ask them what that did for them or why they went there, they're like, what do you mean? That just happens. That's the issue with the angsty teen in the character department. Like there's going to be a moments and plenty of opportunities, not just through September, but these are the cards for September, where you will have the opportunity to just act away and it will be understandable. Evictions, you know, people succumbing to drug addiction, people succumbing to COVID, real life economic financial situations, dire circumstances in places with war and oppression. All these things are true. And it would be understandable for anybody to be on their worst behavior. But then you don't live here. So the angsty teen card, it's like the stopping the world through the four emotional steps, not just going from steps 1 to 4 and raging, not just I feel I act, but really stopping the world, bear claw, striking for a reason, and being like, okay, I feel like beating the shit out of somebody, and I have every right to feel this way. And yet, is that the behavior that I want to have to take up in my version of heaven? And if it is not, what would I prefer would take place? And if I can't have that, how would I prefer to act regardless of the outcome? And that will make you, a teenager who's riding the wave as opposed to getting caught under the surfboard and like just barely making it up to the surface of the water, which is how a lot of teenagers feel because we don't give them the emotional intelligence package. And so their feelings feel like something that happens to them. Our feelings are not happening to us as a collective. Our feelings are not happening to us individually. We encounter circumstances that we do or we don't prefer. Not preferring them or preferring them, we feel a way. That feeling is an indicator of our preferences. And the more that we're able to track those preference indicators, the more we'll know what stimulates them, what instigates them, what makes them curl up and die, what makes them go away. So as this is the cards and channeling group, I now always pull a key card, which I think will come from not the deck of character, but my old friend postcards from the liminal space.